Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
The question isn't, are you prepared to die? The question is, who will you be when you close your eyes?
We're facing a caloric deficit. And to make up for it, we've had to take certain measures.
The last thing I do is drive that car. I will take that life, man. 1,000 times.
And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Movie Punditry. Mr. Mike, how you doing?
I'm a good there, buddy. How's it going? Good there, dog.
For those that don't know, that's some WFAN back in the glory days. Their afternoon show stinks now. Absolutely stinks.
Yeah, Chris Russo's still around. I see him on TV now all the time. I don't know, and I know he's on like XM. Yep. I don't know. Is Francesca retired or?
So he is doing his own thing out of his house, and there's like no set schedule, and I don't even know where to find it anymore. Just there's this guy that runs an account on Twitter and Blue Sky called Awful Announcing. And he has and he just reposts people's bad takes. So every now and then I'll see like something from Francesca. There was one guy who had an account, and all the account did was repost bad takes from Francesca, and it was called Back After This. I need to find his account again because his account was hilarious.
It sounds like it because Francesca could have some interesting takes.
Oh yeah, and
especially when he got out of sports and into world politics. Events and things. Yeah.
And then so the funny thing is like the profile picture for the account is like, do you remember that? It's pretty much the Twitter bird with Francesca's head on it. But yeah, I definitely got to find that again. But let's talk Star Wars.
Star Trek.
I'm sorry, and I know some people out there are probably screaming right now and ripping up paper. It's not something I've really been a big fan of. I've always been more into Star Wars, and I started seeing. How did I get in this? Oh, I saw Stephen Miller said that they should put the franchise. They should put William Shatner in control of the franchise because it's too woke. And somebody had retweeted and they retweeted and they were like, I can tell he's never watched Star Trek in his life. So what was the original intent and premise? Matter of fact, it's a book originally, right? By Gene Roddenberry, or was it originally a show?
No, it was originally a show. So Gene Roddenberry was he's a screenwriter, TV producer from like the 1950s, World War II veteran, like most of those guys were. And he came up with this idea for this show, which he called Wagon Train to the Stars. It was basically, let's go out and explore. And so originally he had cast a guy named Jeffrey Hunter to play a character named Christopher Pike, and that they shot a pilot called The Cage, which was not picked up by NBC, but in something that almost never happened, NBC said, take another run at it. We'll fund another pilot. And so they got rid of Hunter, mainly because he had movie obligations. They brought in William Shatner, which changed the entire dynamic of the show. And that's the show that, ran from 1966 to 1968 and started this whole ball of wax going.
Okay. And why was this show groundbreaking at the time?
So this show, with apologies to Mr. Miller, this show was extremely progressive for the time, as well as just being good. It was well acted, well written. Um, the music was great. And you had people like like Gene Kuhn and Dorothy Fontana who were writing amazing screenplays. You'd have science fiction authors come in like Harlan Ellison who would come in and write screenplays. Um, you had like this great music by Alexander Courage. You had this amazing for television cinematography by Jerry Finnerman, and it was just it looked like nothing else on TV. It felt like nothing else on TV, and for its time, it was really groundbreaking in terms of things like you had not only a woman in in leadership, but you had a black woman in leadership. You had an Asian man as one of your stars of your show. You had, a lot of women like guest stars who were being shown as like positions of authority and leadership and things like that. Um, and then the stories that they told were stories that dealt with classism and economic struggles and racism, and which is the thing that science fiction does best, is it holds a mirror up to us through the metaphor of whatever the story that they're telling is. And Star Trek excelled at that. You had shows about like people who were underclass to like super wealthy people, and the lower class people were not allowed like to come out from underground kind of thing. You had an episode where the planet was so overpopulated that they didn't even know what to do anymore. You had an episode where an entire planet eradicated itself over racism. You had a story where two planets were warring, but instead of shooting missiles at each other, they were just pulling random names out of computers, and then those people had to go to disintegration chambers because it made war less messy. Like all these things that were just telling us about ourselves in a way that like a grounded modern day drama could never do.
That sounds amazing.
It is amazing. That original series was really something. And I remember coming into it when I was probably like 6 years old or so. And it's been a hook in me ever since. 50 odd years I've been a Star Trek fan. My first quote unquote, my first big boy book was a Star Trek book, was one of the James Blish novels. So, I mean, it's just been a part of my life for my entire life that I can remember.
Okay, so that series ends. What comes next?
So the series was canceled after 2 seasons. There was a furious letter writing campaign, and people sent tens of thousands of letters into NBC, and they decided to renew it for a 3rd season. Although they cut the budgets dramatically and things like that. So after 3 seasons, 79 episodes, it went off the air in 1969, early 1969. Gene Roddenberry, who was the creator of it, tried to get it back on the air somehow throughout the 70s, wrote a couple of pretty famous screenplays, which are now you can find. And it got picked up as a TV series in the late 70s, like 76 or so, 77 or so. And it was going to be called Star Trek Phase 2. And they started casting for it. They built sets for it. They designed, they were getting ready to make this thing. And then this little movie called Star Wars came out and changed everything.
Okay.
And then they quickly revamped this TV series into a movie. And in December 7th, 1979, Star Trek The Motion Picture came out. And I was there in the Ridgeway Theater in Stamford, Connecticut, watching that movie on opening weekend. And then, it just kind of took off from there. Bunch of movies throughout the 80s led to Star Trek The Next Generation in 1987. Bunch more, kind of the golden age of Star Trek. You had Next Generation for 7 seasons. You had Deep Space Nine for 7 seasons. You had Voyager for 7 seasons, and there was overlap here. You had Star Trek Enterprise for 4 seasons. So we had like 18 years of just always at least one Star Trek show on.
Okay, so these the series that follow the original, essentially the same like tone, like I guess mission statement would be the same. Like,
So
is there a through line?
so Star Trek, the original Star Trek was very much like kind of an action adventure.
Mhm.
Star Trek The Next Generation had elements of that, but it was more cerebral. It was more and being on longer, it had more opportunity to kind of dive into the characters more, tell more stories. Wasn't all great. First 2 seasons were kind of rough. The last season was kind of rough. But man, from like 3 through 6 was on fire, and there was a lot of really, really great episodes in there.
Okay, I'm trying to think. My familiarity is I've seen episodes of the original series. I've watched some Next Generation, seen a little bit of Deep Space Nine. I remember like a Borg movie, and then I got onto I guess it's the J.J. Abrams version of this thing,
Which was the entry point for a lot of people. Star Trek, and I was wrong, it wasn't 18 years, it was longer than that. It was 1987, Next Generation came out, and Star Trek was pretty much consistently on the air until 2005. And then there was a break, and so that period of time is known as the Berman era, based on the producer Rick Berman. And everything that happened in there, 4 shows, movies, there was 3 movies, um 4 movies. They all were like a consistent canon, and they all dovetailed with the original series canon, which was three seasons of live action television, 1 season of animated television, and 6 movies. So all of that was one canon. Now there was discrepancies and stuff in it, but it was all basically considered to be one universe. J.J. Abrams comes along 2009, does basically reboots the whole franchise. It's referred to as the Kelvin Universe after the first ship that we see in the show. And that was the 3 movies that they had: Star Trek Into Darkness, Star Trek Beyond. And those are all one story, one canon.
Now it's interesting. Like I do remember they let you know that this is a separate universe because
You did. Yep.
Nimoy shows up.
He does, and there's this like kind of hand wavy thing about like maybe it's like an alternate timeline kind of thing, and there's a little bit of a crossover. There's this, there's this event that happens, kind of like a Marvel temporal incursion kind of thing, where Spock is trying to save a planet, and so he implodes the sun, and then there's all kinds of timey-wimey stuff going on there. It may be a parallel universe, or maybe just completely different, and that's just Leonard Nimoy's just playing an older Spock. It's tough to say. I tend to go with the second version of that, where it's just a completely isolated universe. It's its own thing.
How did you feel about the Abrams version.
I really liked the first movie. The second movie's got a lot of problems. The third movie is got its problems, but I like it. It's pretty decent.
Okay. I liked it to a certain extent. I didn't like how they positioned Shatner's character. What's his name supposed to be? Kirk. I didn't like that version of Kirk. It tried to make him okay, so then you tell me if I'm wrong. It seemed like they're trying to go for this edgy, rebellious.
Absolutely.
Is that who that character is?
No. But again, this is a different version of that character for a modern day. You know? And a property needs to evolve. I completely understand that.
My thing was it felt like they were trying to make him fit a modern day, what we think, the protagonist should be. And it just didn't fit what I had known Star Trek to be. Like, I imagined that he'd be like, a leader, cool, calm under pressure. Not perfect, flawed, but it just seemed like they wanted to make him hip. And it was just, it didn't work for me.
Yeah. So one of the things to consider is that movie essentially is supposed to take place years before like the original series would have. Right. By the time we get to Kirk in the original series, he's been captain of the Enterprise for a few years. He's worked with this crew for a few years. This is about them all kind of meeting each other. Now, I'm not particularly fond of like the plot mechanics that they use to get him there. Kind of ridiculous, it seems, actually. But fine, they need to get from A to B to C, and they wanted to do both this, we just met everybody and we're recruiting him into Starfleet, and this, he's Captain Kirk. They wanted to do that all in one movie. And as illogical as that is, it doesn't make sense. I mean, someone would be like in Starfleet for like decades before they got to be the captain of a ship. You gotta kind of go with that. I understand what you're saying about the characterization of him and like the thing about like him driving his stepfather's Corvette off the cliff. Whatever. But I kind of liked the cockiness that he had early on. I love Carl Urban. Carl Urban was fantastic in that movie. Right on point, right on the money.
So my issue with the cockiness was like, that's almost every protagonist now. Like,
yeah.
Like as I'm watching that, I'm like, oh, it's Star Trek Iron Man, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like, you can make this show fit the time without copying everything else that's going on.
That. Right.
Yes.
Exactly. No, and you're right. It was dialed up a little too much. Like if they'd have taken it down just a couple of notches.
Yep.
I think it would have been better. But I do think that, I mean, Chris Pine was a find, man. There was a lot of his characterization that really fit the character in ways that were probably drawn more off like some of the books and novels and comic books than necessarily the show. But yeah, it was definitely, this is what an action hero looks like in 2009, and this is what we're going to make this guy. There was absolutely a lot of that.
So this leads us up to how we ended up having a Star Trek centric show. I'd seen ads for Discovery a lot. I guess it came out 2019, and I never got into it.
2017, wasn't it?
Let me see. I'm actually having it on right now.
Yeah, September 24th, 2017.
Okay. And big fan of the lead. I guess it was last week. I was like, let me just throw this thing on. Oh, I know what happened because I kept seeing the ads for Academy.
Right.
Let me throw this thing on. And I think I text you through the right midway through the first episode, and you were like, "I just act like this thing doesn't exist." How did this come about? What was the reception? And
So
it'll lead me to where I'm going.
So initially, this show was pitched quite a bit different. And like kind of the early person who was guiding it in was Brian Fuller. And he was a writer on Voyager. He was a writer on Deep Space Nine. He created Hannibal. He created Pushing Daisies. Well-known writer and a guy who knows Star Trek. And his initial pitch on this was that it was going to be like a prequel to Star Trek, and it was going to be mainly about like junior officers, lower deck kind of characters, right? It wasn't going to be about like the captain of the ship. It was going to be about like other characters and stuff. But eventually, through some point throughout the development, Brian Fuller leaves, and the premise of the show changes a bit to focus on this character of Michael Burnham. I want to be really clear about something. I detest this character. I do not detest Sonoya Martin Green. I think she's great. I think with what she's given to work with, I think she does a fantastic job. I hate the way this character's written and the things that they make her do,
and the way people react to her.
Well, yeah, I mean, fandom is a whole nother conversation, which I'm sure we'll have, but
not people like outside.
People in universe.
Yes,
the
way they react to her is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that's part of the right. That's part of the writing. Like, so Star Trek has got, and it's not just Discovery. All these shows, all the new shows have it, right? Except maybe, well, I mean, it's the premise of Picard, but certainly Strange New Worlds has this problem. And Star Wars has the same problem. And it's what I call the small universe problem. You have an entire galaxy and somehow everybody knows everybody. And everybody's connected to everybody. So you have this character of Michael Burnham who all of a sudden turns out to be Spock's stepsister or adoptive sister. We've known this character for 60 years.
That's Spock that she's being mentored by?
Yeah.
Oh man. Wow.
Which not only like, is there no way we would have not heard? I mean, and I get it. Like by the time we meet Spock in like the main timeline, she's already gone 900 years into the future. Cool. She's gone. She might as well be dead. But to have never heard a whisper of it, and it is probably not probably, it is definitely very out of character for Spock's father, Sarek, who is a character that we've seen over and over again. This does not fit in with his, with who he is. So what?
They don't got one of them Bibles over there. Like, hey, these are rules that you have to just.
They do, and they just ignored them. And you know what? You're making your own show. You're making your own thing. Okay, that's cool. The other thing that I really dislike about, but it's like, so make interesting characters and have them stand on their own. Don't use old legacy characters as a crutch. And the other thing is like, everything is like, the stakes on everything are galaxy wide. You know what I'm saying? Like everything this woman does affects the entire galaxy. Like there's no small stories. You know, she does this thing and an entire planet's going to go. She does this thing and we're in galactic war. She does this thing and, you know, the Earth, the galaxy is going to explode. It's like, that's not what Star Trek is. Star Trek is about like showing up on a planet and dealing with that little situation right there. And what does that tell us about ourselves? This is just like this is just like an action adventure with no like thought to it. And
that, and it's funny, I'm glad you said that, because something felt off about this. And I remember my grandfather would watch The New Generation a lot. And whenever I would watch it, I would always notice like they were somewhere new and they were dealing with the problems of wherever they were at. So it seemed like it was easier to tell these, you know, single episode stories. And sometimes they were like part twos. But you're right. This seems like, it's like when you said, if everything is endgame, then nothing is endgame.
right,
Like
exactly.
Every episode is like
Super high stakes.
Yeah. How about some small problems? Just let things breathe.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a really great observation.
You know, and so part of this, unlike Next Generation, was by design, right? Because they built that show to be syndicated. And one of the things that they were worried about is like, well, if we sell, you know, this station in Sheboygan 150 episodes, like they should be able to show them in any order they want. And so, you know, they didn't want to worry about, they didn't want to do a lot of overlapping stories or story arcs or whatever. They kind of broke that mold in Deep Space Nine, where they were doing like season-long story arcs and multi-season story arcs. And that was really kind of groundbreaking for Star Trek, you know, because the original series and Next Generation were very episodic. It was like Planet of the Week, you know. But even in Deep Space Nine, like they would take time to pause back and be like, you know what, we're just gonna do this one little thing right here. You know, one of my favorite arcs is the first 6 episodes of season 6 of Deep Space Nine. You have 5 like really heavy episodes about, because the tail end of that show is all about this war, the Dominion War. And so you have a bunch of like really heavy episodes that are dealing with that war and culminating with this huge battle in an episode called Favor of the Bold. And you have this huge battle and this big thing, and it kind of resolves this whole, like the station gets captured by the one side and these guys got to fight to get it back and blah, 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 blah. And then that last episode in the, what I call the last episode in the arc, is just 2 of these characters get married. That's it. It's a wedding. It's like you get to take a breath and just enjoy these characters for an episode. And there's no stakes at all, really, other than the personal ones. Discovery doesn't do that.
No, I was gonna say that I think I'm on episode. Let me check. 14, and I haven't seen any of that. I haven't seen any, like, you know, subtlety or, like you said, breaks. It's just big fight feel every episode. And let's talk about the Klingons. I'm watching them, and then the thing that really threw me off the first episode, I was like, is this set like 2,000 years before the other shows? Because I was like, why do the Klingons look like they haven't fully evolved yet?
Well, because it's a different universe, right? And I don't necessarily have that much of a problem with that, because that happened, you know, the Klingons in Star Trek were like guys with like brown face and Fu Manchu mustaches. And then you get in Next Generation, it started with the motion picture, and then into Next Generation, you got the guys with like the ridged foreheads and the, you know, the big eyebrows and the funky teeth and all that stuff. And it took until like the third season of Enterprise for them even to like try to explain that.
What was the explanation?
The explanation was that there were Klingon scientists that were trying to create like genetic supermen. And by accident, they created this thing called the augment virus because they were mixing in, like, if I remember, because in canon, there were human supermen like Khan. And so they had like stolen some of that work and they were like trying to infuse that in Klingon DNA. And so you wound up with this group of people who like looked more human. And those were like, so it's kind of like, look, we're going to throw this little thing out there and don't pay much attention to it. You know, we're just going to do this little explanation. I kind of wish they hadn't even done it. Like there was an episode of Deep Space Nine where it was like they went back in time to one of the original series episodes. And so you have Worf there with all his stuff. And then you have the Klingons that, you know, like the brown faced Klingons. And like the rest of the crew was like, wait, those guys are Klingons? And Worf just goes, we don't talk about it.
Wow.
Like
right,
that's a cool way. That's a cool way to do it, you know?
This thing got 5 seasons. With this, correct me wrong, with as bad as it sounds like it is, how did it get 5 seasons?
Well, because people watched it, and like the J.J. Abrams, like every iteration, this was an entry point for a lot of people.
Okay,
and people like it, and I don't begrudge them liking it. I don't like it, but and I can articulate why I don't like it. Like there are people who are just like, she's a girl, you know? It's like it's too woke. Whatever, dude. Star Trek has been progressive from day one, right? There's episodes of Next Generation that deal with like homosexuality, that deal with slavery, that deal with you name it, man. And that's always been the case.
Okay.
So I don't consider the show, you know, particularly woke. I think there's some stuff that they kind of throw in your face a little bit. And they did that in the movies too, you know, like in the JJ movies, there was, you know, they made a point of in the third movie of like making Sulu gay and having like his husband and his daughter meet him at the station. And even George Takei, who played Sulu and is gay, was like, that's whack.
Like, yeah, you could have done that with an original character.
Like make an interesting gay character. Don't just slap a gay label on an existing character.
Okay, so now this brings me to... Oh, hold up. That's another thing. So the captain, Lorca, was actually Lorca from a different universe?
Right.
What? So the whole time, that captain is not the real Lorca.
Right. He's the mirror Lorca. So throughout Star Trek, there's been this thing called the mirror universe. Which originated in an episode in the original series called Mirror Mirror, where there was a transport accident and they got transported to where Earth was an empire. And you know, and like evil Spock and evil Kirk. And so they've made hay out of that throughout. Like Next Generation never touched on that, but like Deep Space Nine had episodes, Enterprise had episodes, and so obviously they're going into this, and this is kind of where the whole Section 31 movie thing that we shall not talk about comes from, you know, because there's like there's a mirror Giorgio as well, and so yeah, it's like a mirror Lorca.
Okay.
I thought Jason Isaacs did a really good job. Like I thought he was an interesting character.
Yeah, I liked him.
I was kind of bummed that they killed him off.
All right. So now, what is Strange New Worlds?
So Strange New Worlds. So you haven't gotten to season 2 yet, right?
Nope, I'm still on season 1. But if the snow hits the way it's supposed to, I'll see it all.
So Strange New Worlds is the voyages of the Enterprise before Kirk was the captain. The captain before Kirk was Christopher Pike, who was from the original series, from the original pilot, and so it's about like their adventures and their stories. I really like the show. It's got its issues. It's got the same small world problem that that the other shows have. Like there's characters in there who are great characters who have the names of characters from the original series. It's like they do not need to be that person. But all in all, it's good. They take a lot of big swings in that show.
Mhm.
They experiment a lot, which I'm fine with. Not everything's going to hit. So they'll do like a couple of like really serious like episodes about like battle or whatever, and then they do a musical.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not my thing, but I appreciate the effort. You want to take the swing, go ahead. They'll do like a couple of real serious episodes, then they'll do like a lighter comedy episode, which the original series did. So they try a lot of different things. I really like it, and the only thing I don't really like is they're like, and I guess I kind of understand it, but they're bringing in like a lot of characters from like Star Trek, from like the original series.
Mhm.
So it's like you don't need all of them. Like write your own stories, write your own characters. But I guess it's like supposed to dovetail like directly into the original series, so that's what they're trying to do with it.
And now Picard, was that essentially like a
Picard was like the it was like the 8th, 9th, and 10th seasons of Next Generation, really.
okay? So where is Star Trek right now? Where would you say it's at?
I would say it's breathing hard. So here's the thing. I think the problem that it currently has with what Paramount refers to as the Star Trek universe, what a lot of old Star Trek fans derisively refer to as New Trek, is it's being made right now by people who don't understand what it is.
I like that.
It's one of Paramount's most valuable properties. It's made them billions of dollars over the last 60 years. And it's got to be handled right. And I think it's lost sight of what it's supposed to be. And I'm not saying, look, it needs to be a carbon copy of what it was in 1966. Obviously, that's not going to work. But I think you can make a version of it that is true to the spirit of the original show and the spirit of like the Berman era shows, and still be interesting and fun and modern. And I don't think they're doing that, because I think all they're looking at right now, especially in Discovery, is just pew pew. And let's make this awesome character even more awesome.
Do they have a Dave Filoni or a Kevin Feige?
No. I mean, they do. They have like Alex Kurtzman, but he's not a Star Trek. And that's the thing. Like they did, like that whole run from 1987 to 2005. That was one guy. That was Rick Berman, who he made all the decisions and he kept the tone for the whole thing, which is why all that stuff works as a piece. And it's not all great. I mean, it had its rough spots, but like out of the 4 movies, really there was only one like banger. 2 were okay, and 1 was really, really bad. And each of the shows had its rough seasons, but I mean, that's going to be any TV. You're not going to hit a home run 100% of the time.
Yeah, understood.
So I think they need to press pause, which they're not going to. And a lot of it depends on what happens with Warner. Like if they wind up boring Warner, which they probably won't. But I think they need to, Strange New Things is filming its last season. I don't know what the run of Academy is going to be. And I think they just need to take a breath and regroup and hopefully find a creator who like understands what the spirit of Star Trek is supposed to be and puts that to good use. And I think there's room for them to tell new stories and not have to like piggyback on. Look, I get it. Like IP is all the rage now, and studios are afraid to try to do anything original.
Yep.
But then Sinners is the most nominated movie in Academy history. So, people clearly respond to original things if they're done right. And you can tell original stories in the Star Trek universe with original characters and have them be good and have them be compelling. I really wish that you were up on Stranger Worlds, because I would talk a lot about that, because there's some really good examples of what I mean in there, but maybe that's a future show.
Have they announced what they're going to do with it?
With what?
Star Trek. Have they said anything?
No, there's always something in development, some stories. It's like any franchise, right? There was going to be a movie. There was going to be a fourth movie that JJ was doing. Quentin Tarantino was going to do a movie. They're bringing Chris Hemsworth back. I mean, there's always all kinds of stories going on. Whether or not they're going to do Legacy, and I think that would be huge if they did it. But
what is Legacy?
The Legacy would be like the sequel to Picard.
Okay.
In a way. With Jerry Ryan at the helm, at the center, which, I mean, that would be a really great show with, your leads being Jerry Ryan and Michelle Hurd. That would be a great show. But so it's just, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. See.
What do you want them to do?
I want them to, I'd like them to do Legacy with a creator who understands what Star Trek is supposed to be and what the spirit of Star Trek is supposed to be. And then go on from there and do, more shows with, and I think as much as I like a lot of the films, Star Trek's best medium is television.
I agree.
It's best in long form storytelling. So, I'd like to see, another series after that. I'd like to see them do Legacy, and then I'd like to see another series after that with fresh original character, all new original characters. And I think there's room in that. I think there's room in that world to do it.
Oh, there's room. I just don't know if it's going to happen. I'd like it to. I mean, like Star Wars do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
by the way, did you see, so Kathleen Kennedy's stepping down.
Yep.
And Feige and another guy, not Feige, Filoni and another guy are taking over, which I think is a good idea, right? You have one guy to do creative, one guy to do the business. But then did somebody interview Filoni, and he's like, yeah, I didn't really like Andor.
Which is concerning.
Very concerning, because Andor's like the best thing that they've done in the Disney era. So,
yeah, maybe he shouldn't have all this power.
Maybe. I just hope it's not like, sour grapes, because that's the one thing he had nothing to do with.
Could be. I mean, I'm trying to think of all the movies that came out recently and their shows. Yeah, it's probably the best thing. It's probably the best thing out there.
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong, like I liked the Clone Wars. I really like Rebels, but I mean, Andor is like a step above
Yeah,
all of that.
that's some high level storytelling right there and
Yeah,
acting.
exactly.
And it's
And
okay if you didn't make it. It's all right.
it's fine, Dave. Yeah, that was kind of I was kind of like, oh, this is gonna be good, and then I heard that I was like, oh, is it though?
Maybe there should be a clause like Tony Gilroy gets to do whatever he wants without interference.
Yeah, exactly. That would be good.
Like you report directly to Iger.
Yeah, you do your own thing. We cut your checks separately.
Yeah. You can do whatever you want. Um all right. So I'm going to continue with Discovery. I'm looking at the episodes for Picard. This looks really good too. Might pop into Brave New Worlds a bit. Before we get out of here, what have you been watching?
So a lot actually, too much, really. Um, so just finished season 2 of Landman. It just ended. Right in time for season 4 of Industry, so that's good.
What is that? I keep seeing the ads.
So Industry is an interesting show. I'd like to tell you what it's about, but it actually reinvents itself every season, which is kind of cool. But ostensibly, it is about finance and banking people in London.
Oh,
But there's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of like some of these people who are really cutthroat. Um, it's a lot about manipulation and moving around. You know, it's just it's really hard to put a finger on like what this is, but it's really well done and it's really well acted, and it's just an interesting show. And like I said, like every season has been like completely tonally different, and it still works somehow.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Um. What else? What else? What else? Come on. So, I watched the first episode of Academy. I didn't hate it. Honestly, I don't remember a lot of it, and that could be a problem because I just watched it yesterday. It was just kind of there, but it was inoffensive so
Okay.
far. I didn't find it like overly woke or whatever, whatever. Um, what else? What else is going on? I've been trying to get back to Stranger Things. I rewatched season 4, and now I have to watch season 5, but I just haven't found time to kind of muscle my way in there. Um, because it always seems. Oh, and the Pit, season 2 of the Pit started, so I got
Mhm.
that going on. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Outside of Discovery, I really haven't been watching anything. Just in a weird place. I haven't been able to get anything TV wise. I'm jumping from game to game. I got a Switch 2 for Christmas, and the new Mario Kart's okay, but I think the best thing that I got was it's called the Switch Online expansion pack. So like a bunch of the old Nintendo 64
Okay.
games are on there. So I've been playing like Mario 64, some old Zelda games, and then I restarted God of War on a PlayStation, which is still one of the best video games of all time. Storytelling's phenomenal. And it cracks me. Hold up, let me look it up again because I remember when I originally played it and I told you who was playing Odin. You cracked up. Let me see. Uh,
Have you played Star Wars Outlaws yet?
I'm actually stuck on a Rancor section. I'm trying to get out of Jabba's palace.
Okay.
Story wise, I like the game. And it
Yeah.
kind of goes back to what we said, where please tell these stories of people who aren't Skywalkers or Skywalker
Right.
adjacent.
Yeah.
It's an excellent story where you play like, it's sort of like a female Han Solo. And she gets pulled into these heists where now you have to balance your relationship with these different crime syndicates.
Okay.
And the ship that I have is supposedly like faster than the Millennium Falcon, and everybody wants it.
Excuse me?
Yeah. I don't know if it actually is. There was something else about it too that made it very special, that all these crime syndicates wanted. It's something about where it can get away from. It's something. It has something that makes it undetectable to Imperial ships, and you now have it like this street rat hustler kid or lady. But the story works very, very well. Like I'm just got to Tatooine. I'm sneaking through Jabba's palace. It just works, and the game didn't sell well, and you can figure out why. Female protagonist in a Star Wars game, and people made it. But the game is really good. The story is good. You have, what's that robot that was in Andor, the big tall one?
K2SO.
You have one of those. Same type of like kind of
K2.
Yeah, like I don't care if you die personality. But it works. It works very well.
It just hit Game Pass, so
yep,
I'm thinking
I would try
downloading it and giving it a whirl.
Definitely try it.
I'm not typically a big, me, I'm not typically a big fan of those, run, shoot.
It's not that at all.
No?
Nope. It is more stealth and sneak.
Okay.
Talking to people. I like how you can upgrade the ship and upgrade the weapons. Definitely not a just run and shoot.
Okay.
There's like games to play in the bars. Richard Schiff plays Odin.
Richard Schiff?
Yes.
Wow.
With exactly the voice you would expect that he plays Odin with. And there are times where like I'm talking to him like, am I arguing with some guy in New York? Because everybody else has like this Norse accent and he's just himself.
Yeah, he's just Brooklyn.
Yep. And but I love, he's a villain from the get-go. And his whole thing is, I'm trying to think the best way to put it. He admits that there's like they're not what's what I'm looking for. They're not immortal.
Okay.
And Kratos' son can like look into the veil beyond, because they know Ragnarok is coming. And Kratos' son has the ability to see what's going to happen after Ragnarok. And Odin wants that ability because he's scared that like, I don't know what, I'm going to die one day and I need to know what's going to happen. And he'll just do anything to get that ability, to the point where like he is sending Thor after people and like telling Thor like, if you don't, I'll kill your daughter. It's a very good story. And even though he sounds like he's from New York in the middle of Asgard, right, he plays Odin very well. I'm actually glad that whoever was the director of the game didn't be like, hey, let's try to change your voice.
Yeah, I can't see like Richard Schiff doing like a Norse accent or.
Yeah, nah, he is not Anthony Hopkins.
No.
But yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been doing. And I picked up To Kill a Mockingbird again as if I was in 7th grade.
The book?
Yeah, like I just found it in our like little like bookshelf at home, and I was like, I'm going to start reading this again. And that's pretty much all I've been up to. Anything else before we get out of here?
I don't think so.
This was a really good episode. Like, I learned a lot. I hope you guys as the listeners learned a lot about Star Trek. Please check out any of the shows that Mike talked about. Probably best to just look it up in Paramount Plus. It looks like it's all up there. And I think we're gonna try to find another show that Mike knows pretty much everything about, and we can do this again because this was fun.
Oh, we're gonna get you through Battlestar Galactica or something.
Oh no! I tried. Nope. Absolutely not. I tried that. I tried The Expanse. Nope. Well, we'll look at something else. Absolutely not. Tried it.
That's weird.
Oh, you know what? But folks, if you have some suggestions, send them our way. I'll see if I get into it. Nothing too graphic or horror. Like, don't send us American Horror Story. I'm not doing that.
I'm not either.
Yeah. So you just cross that off the list right now.
All Mankind in March.
Oh, yes. That's going to be good.
We'll definitely be talking about that.
I'll be consistent for that. Also, too, just quick heads up, guys. The reason I'm not here as much, I have 2 kids, and one of them is autistic, and I think he just wakes up every day with, how can I destroy this house? How can I do it? And every day he almost does it. We had to call a plumber because Elmo, Bert, and Ernie found their way into some pipes in the basement. That was fun.
Nice.
Yeah. But folks, wash your hands, wash your butts. If you're in the north, well, shoot, not even just the northeast. If you're in the path of this snowstorm, good luck, stay safe, and if you
enjoy
the
that.
road, I'm looking forward to it because I'm a madman.
Maybe you get Monday off.
Give me 5 feet, I'll take it. Anything else?
That's it. We're good.
Peace.
Peace out.